Hello and welcome everyone to the orientation session of Mrcog Part 2 exam. So let's start with this part because this is the most important part of your Mrcog exam because it has got all the guidelines and the things that are related to the standardization of the things that you practice in, right? So basically, first of all, I would want to congratulate all of you for clearing your part 1. And obviously, since you know how part 1 works, there's a lot of things that you must have already learned about how RCOG works. So, are you ready for MRCOG journey? Let's start with the part 2 guidelines, right? So, as you know, this is mainly only about the guidelines. If you know the guidelines thoroughly, you are there are more chances that you clear the exam in the first go. And this is a little difficult as compared to part 1 and part 3. The reason is you'll be reading your guidelines for the first time in your part 2. Also, what happens is when you're going for your part 2, you have already read about part 1. Part 1 has got a minimum, a little syllabus, some very few books, and the recalls that you read and then you give the exam. But part 2, the portion is very vast. The portion includes, it includes the green top guidelines, right, which are around 80, if I'm not wrong. Then there are nice guidelines. Very few of the nice guidelines are to be read. Not all of them. Only things that are related to the obs in gynae are to be read from NICE guidelines. There are best practice papers, there are clinical governance advices, there are consent advices, there are scientific impact papers, BASH guidelines, good practice papers. There'll be FSRH guidelines, there'll embrace guidelines, there are colposcopy guidelines, and there is ESHRE, right? So you need to know all of these, and everything is available on the RCOG website. So if you go to the search option there, you'll find everything there. So don't worry, you'll have the portion in front of you. The only problem is covering the whole portion, and this is not done, right? So there's also TOG. So TOGs are actually the journals which are released every 3 months in a year. So there are 4 talks that will come in 1 year. So you need to know at least 5 years of talks. The last 5 years of talks, the updated ones, and some very few important talks which have been released many years back, but they are very important because that's the only talk that covers that topic, right? So you'll be given a list of which talks are important also, right? Remember, e-learning for trainees. So you need to have subscription for associate membership. It's not that this e-learning for trainees is free for those who become associate members. So you need to pay for associate membership, and then these e-learning for trainees come free with that. E-learning for trainees is it has covers most of the part which are not there in your guidelines. So the areas like oncology, the medical conditions, the guidelines which are not there are many things that are to be read from e-learning for trainees. So actually you should go with the green top guidelines first, the nice guidelines later on, and always see if there's anything in the module that you are missing, and just go through the e-learning for trainees. There's no need of reading everything, but at least keep an eye on if there's anything in the e-learning for trainees that you're missing from that module, right? Now this is for the July exam goers. Now the expression of interest has already been started. It will close on 9th of March. The booking tokens will be sent to the candidates on 28th of March, and the booking application window will open on 30th of March. Remember, if your booking tokens come to you, it doesn't mean that you are you have booked for the exam. So that is not there. You have to book again when the booking application opens. So remember, when you have expressed the interest, you have only expressed the interest. When the booking tokens come, which means that you will be given an opportunity to book the exam on 30th of March, and you have to book immediately, right? Do not wait until 13th of April till the booking tokens close, right? So most of the times, the first come first go are the ones who give the exam, because then there are limited seats with this computer based exam. You'll be getting um, the emails from Pearson View on 27th of April, right? So keep an eye on your mails on these particular dates. These are very important dates. The fees, as you have paid for your part 1, is almost the same for part 2. And if you are in India, it is band B, and then you have to pay £528. Otherwise, check which country you fall in, and sorry, which band your country falls in, and remember the amount that you need to pay accordingly, right? Now this is the same thing that I told, that you first need to express the interest, then you need to book according to the country and location, and then you will be contacted by the Pearson U. Now remember, there are two papers again as your part 1, paper 1 and paper 2, both of 3 hours. This will be having SBAs and there will be EMQs. Now EMQs are something different from SBAs. There will be options there, and you will have 3 to 4 questions coming related to the options that are there. So there will be some 8 to 10 options above, and there will be 3 to 4 questions related to the options, and the single option can be an answer of uh, 2 questions also. So you need to know your guidelines. If you know your guidelines thoroughly, if you know your guidelines in and out, you know how to apply them, then there is no problem with solving the EMQs. Keep on solving the maximum number of EMQs as much as possible. Now why take a course? Now remember, for part 2 it is difficult to finish the syllabus. Nobody can finish the syllabus, so it is important to cover as much as possible. So the course makes that thing available, very possible, because what happens is once you join the course, you remain updated. You are into a group where people are always discussing about something or the else, and nobody knows everything, right? So what happens is, when there's some module of which the knowledge is less, like say for example you don't know much about oncology, and then there are people who will be helping you in the course to understand about oncology. You can ask doubts in the course group, and there'll be mentors. All of us will be helping you with solving the doubts. So that is, then you save your time there. That is one thing. Another thing is, because there is a group, you keep yourself motivated, you keep yourself scheduled all the time. That is another important part. And remember, in part 2 you'll require a lot of tips and tricks, as to what to remember, what not to remember, how to remember that, right? So course becomes very important for part 2. We have 4 mentors now, because initially I used to conduct this myself, like single handedly, for part 1, part 2, and part 3 as well. But now I think I require help, because uh, I think I need to have people who will be giving more focus and more justice to the course. And they'll be my friends, Dr. Nusrat, who is a consultant in UAE, and she works in Dubai, and she will be helping you with some of the modules. Dr. Deepa Painadkarni, she is now working in London. So thankfully we have an extra thing here, because there's somebody who is working in NHS, so she'll give you first hand information on how things work in NHS, how things work in labor ward and delivery there, and about the clinical governance. So she'll be the best one to help you with that. So that is a star mark of the course. And Dr. Jia Mathev, she is also working in Dubai. So all of these mentors will be helping you in and out 24/7 to clear your doubts, and we will be giving you an extra knowledge of how to cover the maximum portion as much as possible, right? Also, when if there are doubts about which answer is right, there'll be different opinions, and our experience of giving the exam can help you with finding out how to go about answering the questions which you don't know the answers of, right? Now, what are the highlights of the course? You'll be having weekly sessions, plus you'll be having the recorded sessions. In case you miss the live sessions, you'll be having a practice group. Of course, you'll be given the tips and tricks, and you'll be given the notes also, right? Now the course starts on 18th of February, and the course fee will be 20,999. The early bird was till 10th of February until now, but with the requests of the candidates, now the early bird has been extended till 18th of February. So you can get 999 off. That means you have to pay only 20,000 rupees for part 2, and if you join the course until 18th of February. But after, once the course opens and once the sessions start, then the fees will be different, because then we need to redo the sessions for the new candidates and it becomes tedious. So please join before the course begins. Now this is the last advice that I would give to some candidates who either join or don't join the course, doesn't matter. Please solve the maximum number of SBAs and EMQs as much as possible. Once you are done with the guideline, please solve the SBAs and EMQs related to that. So that will give you an idea on how or what, whether you have read, whether it applies, or it gives a different perspective to what you have read. Otherwise you'll never understand and you'll just keep on reading. So that is the most important thing, that is, solve as many SBAs and EMQs as much as possible. So I hope this session was useful for part 2 candidates, and I wish you all the best and come out with flying colors, and hope you all rock, and see you at the other end of part 3.